Fraser Forster. 7s all round for Big Fraser. Another really good display from him, in my opinion. That double save in the first half I thought was brilliant. Kept us competitive in the game for a while with a number of good saves. So, I'm really happy with Fraser as the number one at the moment. He seems to be our best player every game.
Yeah, made 4 really good saves. As you say, the double save, made 1 from Sancho in the second half and made 1 from Malo Gusto as well, which was, a save you probably expect him to make. I would say... I think Vicario saves Enzo's shot, to be honest. Not that it was a terrible mistake, but I think Vicario would probably have the flexibility or the reflexes to get there, where Fraser didn't. It's not a criticism of him. I just think that's a reality. But still a really good performance. So, yeah, gave him a 7.
Pedro Porro up next. Him gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I thought it was actually a step forward for Pedro Porro, better than he has been the last couple of games, because he's been shocking in those games. But I thought he started the game with real intensity and aggression, but I think that did kind of wean out throughout the game. I thought he should have done better closing down Enzo for the goal that he scored. I thought he got caught out of position on multiple occasions, but did influence the attack a bit in the first half, and particularly the first 20 minutes. So, a bit of mix and match from Pedro.
Yeah, I thought he was decent for parts of it. I think Sancho clearly gave him a tough ride. Sancho was in top form, probably one of his better performances of the season. There were a couple of occasions where he was in one-on-one situation with Sancho and came out on top. But Sancho was clearly giving him a tough ride. I think Sancho was finding these little passes in between the pockets, again, between the centre-back and the full-back. And I wouldn't necessarily blame Porro for that, but he was able to continuously do that. Obviously, he got his goal as well. I wouldn't necessarily put that on Pedro, but it was a really good goal from Sancho. Going forward, obviously, he did get an assist for the second goal and was looking decent. I don't think he was our worst player on the day, but wasn't an amazing performance either. So I gave him a 6.
Cuti Romero, Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I mean, it's hard to judge really because he only played 15 minutes and went off injured. I guess he started the game well. Decent. It was a nice little pass from him that unfortunately got him his injury, but yeah, it was only on the pitch for 15 minutes.
Yeah, can't really comment too much. I agree.
Yeah. Mickey van der Ven up next. Him gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. Look, he was fairly good throughout, but we were coming under increasing pressure from Chelsea. I mean, the ball did bounce off him for the goal that Enzo scored, but I'm not going to mark him too down. I thought it was a good return, but I don't think it was unbelievable like we've seen Van der Ven play in the past. Yeah,
I think there are times he was looking really good. I don't remember too many runs in behind in those, what's called trademark Van der Ven clear mopping up, which we become accustomed to. But I did think he was decent. I think playing out the back, again, I don't think it's his fault, but there's one thing I do have a big problem with, Ange, in terms of our build-up. When the centre-backs get the ball, the other players run away from them and try to get in behind. And I think it causes too much separation. And I think that is a problem. And I think Van der Ven was a bit one of the victims of that yesterday. But I think defensively was putting in a lot of strong challenges. I thought he dealt with Jackson fairly well. Jackson was one of their quieter attackers. I didn't like how he defended for the third goal. Even though it wasn't really his fault, the cross deflected off him. Like, the way that he just bunched together with the other 3 defenders without, allowing 2 defenders to deal with Palmer and just getting in position. I didn't like that. But I think in general, it was a good comeback.
Destiny Udogie up next. 5s all round for Destiny, and this was a proper game of 2 halves for Destiny. I thought he was brilliant in the first half, particularly in the opening 20 minutes. I thought he was dominating the left-hand side. He looked really strong, and he was doing those marauding runs up the left-hand side. But second half, I don't know what happened, but he got completely dominated. Cole Palmer ran rings around him for the goal. And I just thought he just wasn't at the races at all in the second half. And unfortunately, it was a really poor performance. And that's why I've marked him down.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he dealt with Neto fairly comfortably in the first half. But second half, Neto was giving him a much more tougher ride. I think obviously partly because Bissouma was putting him in trouble on a couple of occasions and it led him to being caught out of position. But I thought the defending for the third goal, again, he just got completely sold a mug, to be honest. I don't understand why he's going so far out wide when Palmer's chopping inside. I think the defending for that was really, really bad. Again, I don't know if are we asking too much of him? Is that why he's tiring, or is that just something he's going to have to learn? He's still young. Remember, he's only 21, but Yeah, I mean, defending for that goal wasn't good from him, and I think he didn't have a very good second half.
Bissouma up next. Threes all round for Bissouma, and a proper poor performance with individual displays individual errors really hurting him in this one. I felt he was really poor for the Jadon Sancho goal. Yeah, I get it. It's great individual quality from Jadon Sancho to put it in the back of the net from there, but he's got to be doing more to close down his man. He puts out a lazy leg. And it's just not good enough. For the penalty, it was even worse. Even worse. He loses the ball in the middle of the park where he just didn't need to, where we were on our way to an attack. He runs back, sees the red mist, and just takes out Caicedo for no reason whatsoever. And it was just shocking from Bissouma. And on top of that, I felt like he was getting overrun in midfield as well.
Yeah, I think, a lot of his bad performance wasn't totally on him, but what was in his control, he didn't do very well. And I think we definitely lost the midfield battle. He wasn't really being proactive enough in that midfield to combat what Enzo and Caicedo were doing. Obviously, the second goal, I mean, a lot of it was pretty much down to him. Really, really poor from him. And it was something as well he was guilty of, which I mentioned in the pre-match, which is too often he's taking a really heavy touch and it leads to him stretching or maybe even making a foul for his second touch. And that's exactly what happened in that moment where he lost the ball in the middle, because he wins the ball but takes a really heavy touch and ends up losing it. Now that's something he's got to cut out of his game, but it's been going on for too long. Obviously, a rush of blood to the head led to the penalty. And I think he was very stretched. I don't think Sarr was helping out enough. I think he couldn't deal with Palmer's movement. Palmer was just getting all sorts of joy, and he couldn't really control that situation. Again, he's another player that's playing a lot of football at the moment, but would have Bentancur to come in, so it's not something I can see change, or it has to change next game because he's suspended. But yeah, it wasn't a good game from Bissouma.
Yeah, and he's put us in a bit of a pickle. Even though he's not playing well at the moment, we kind of need him because of the lack of numbers in that area. But he just picks up too many stupid yellow cards, doesn't he? That one in the first minute against Man City, albeit he did have a good game after that. Against Bournemouth as well, I felt like he picked up a stupid yellow card then and again yesterday, and that's culminated in him getting a suspension. Let's move on to Pape Matar. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. Look, I think he put in a lot of effort in the game, but I just feel like the quality was just nowhere near. The penalty that he gave away was one of the most stupid penalties I've ever seen a professional footballer give away. Palmer is just absolutely going nowhere. He's going nowhere. He's literally going towards the corner flag. He's going outside of the box, and Sarr, for some reason, just fouls him just inside the box and gives away a penalty in a really pivotal moment in the game. And he was pressing high up the pitch. He was providing energy, but yeah, he was another reason why the midfield got overran.
Yeah, I thought it was another poor display from Pape Matar, to be honest. I felt like first half he did a lot of good pressing, to be honest, and it did create a few chances for Spurs, but it did left us really losing that midfield battle, especially with Caicedo inverting in that first half, Palmer picking up all sorts of spaces. He needed to get deeper and help out Bissouma, and he just wasn't doing it, and it led to Tottenham, especially in the middle, being way too easy to play through, I felt. Then in the second half, again, maybe it's a case of him being overplayed, but he just looked leggy. He wasn't there. It was a lazy foul for the goal, for the fourth penalty, fourth goal as well for the penalty. Terrible decision making from Pape Matar. Quality on the ball was lacking as well. Another poor display, unfortunately, from him.
Dejan Kulusevski, Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I felt like in the early exchanges when we were really on top, he was pivotal to that, and he was really hard to handle, and he was involved in a lot of our good play going forward. Obviously got the goal with a finish of the highest quality right in the corner from outside the box, which we don't see him do enough, actually, and he's got that quality. He should be showing that more. But I felt like he tired very quickly in that second half, and he just couldn't seem to have any sort of influence in the game in the second half, unfortunately, and probably should have come off a bit quicker than he did.
Yeah, he again another player who looked leggy, but he shouldn't been, because he hasn't been playing every game. Albeit he started on last game Thursday, but didn't start the game before. Obviously took his goal brilliantly. What a finish that was, and he was looking really bright in the early exchanges, but couldn't really keep up. Couldn't continue to dominate in that centre. And second half he was very quiet, to be honest. So probably could have been taken off earlier. Yeah.
Brendan Johnson, Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. done really well again in the opening 20 minutes. Peach of a cross into Dom Solanke, which got us our goal. And again, I thought he was causing trouble down that right-hand side in the first half, but another one who just completely vanished out the game. Well, he did get taken off pretty early in the second half, but I think after the 20 minutes, pretty much he vanished out the game.
Yeah, good assist, but I don't think he did too much apart from that. Obviously, it was his pressure. Obviously, we got a bit of luck with Cucurella's slips, but if it wasn't from Johnson's pressure, maybe it doesn't happen. And he obviously won the ball back twice. And it was a good cross for Solanke. But other than that, don't remember too much else he did, to be honest. I think it was a very quiet game from him.
Dom Solanke, Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. Again, I thought in the first half he was brilliant. He got in front of his defender to nick that goal in the first few minutes, and his aggressive nature was causing Chelsea some problems, and he was picking up balls and loose balls that Chelsea were playing out the back. And I thought, Dom Solanke looked really up for this, but again, another player who just weaned in confidence as the game went on.
Yeah, took his goal really well. The movement there is underrated because it's to get ahead of Badiashile, get a toe to that ball, and that is a goal he was scoring consistently at Bournemouth, and that's something he needs to start doing a lot more for Spurs. I think he battled really well. When he come up against Badiashile and Colwell, I think a lot of the time he was winning those challenges, to be honest. I didn't get him involved enough. But yeah, second half, don't remember too many opportunities. Obviously, he had a big chance in that first half as well to make it 3-1. Son lays it on the plate for him, and he just couldn't sort his feet out. He did do well to set up a chance for Son in the first half as well, which Son blazed over the bar. I think overall he competed well, but yeah, second half it was difficult for him to get involved in the game. He did a lot of great work off the ball though.
Son Heung-min, the last of the starting 11 that we're going to rate, and that is 6s all round for Sonny. And again, another one who looked really up for it at the start of the game. He was creative. I think he created 2 big chances throughout the game, and his dribbling ability as well was on show. I thought they found it quite hard to deal with him, but it's all going to come down to the big chances he missed, and he's got to be finishing, particularly the one where Udogie was offside and he just creeps in through the back, and you expect Sonny to score those 9.5 times out of 10. Unfortunately, this was the half that we had against Chelsea, and that was a really pivotal moment in the game, because at 2-2, to go 3-2 up at that moment could have swung the momentum back in our favour, but unfortunately he missed it. He missed a couple of other big chances in the game as well. Gets the goal in the 96th minute of stoppage time, but it was a little too late by then.
I actually thought in the first half he was having a really good game. I thought Caicedo was struggling to deal with him. I thought he was causing lots of problems. Every time we got the ball to him, he was making it stick. He was turning Caicedo. He obviously created opportunities. He created one for Solanke. He had that moment where he had a shot cut inside and curled over the bar, obviously doing a lot of hard work. And I thought there was a reason. I think obviously Lavia was booked, but I think Caicedo struggling against Son was a part of the reason they took off Caicedo, to be honest. Moved Caicedo and took off Lavia, because I thought Son was getting a lot of joy down that left-hand side. Unfortunately, we didn't make the most of it. And then second half, he was a bit anonymous up until he had a couple of he was anonymous up until the last 20 minutes where he had that chance, which he has to bury. He then has another chance when played through by Timo Werner, and actually on replay, he could have gone down because he definitely gets clipped and he decides to stay on his feet to try and get the chance. But he could have easily gone down and it should have been a penalty. But he decides to not to go down. That was in stoppage time. And then obviously he gets his goal in stoppage time as well. So he actually had quite a few moments in this game, albeit, it's not the stuff you'll really remember. And a lot of people saying he had a bad game. I don't think he had a bad game, but obviously the chance he missed is going to be the thing everyone remembers.
Yeah. In terms of the substitutes, Radu came on with 15 minutes gone in the game with the injured Romero. 6s all round for Radu. And I think he played fairly well, to be honest. He put in some really important blocks and challenges, particularly on Nicholas Jackson. He's been really aggressive against Nicholas Jackson, which was good to see. Yeah, look, I thought he had an okay game. It wasn't unbelievable like we saw at the Etihad or anything like that, but he definitely gave us maybe what we needed with Romero going off.
Yeah, I think he defended well. I thought that he made a brilliant challenge on Jackson, didn't he, when he was through on goal? Brilliant last-ditch challenge there. I think there was a lot of moments in that, especially the second half when we were penned back, where he had to do a lot of penalty box defending, and he did some good stuff on the ball. Again, rushed into his passes a lot, and again, he's also a bit of a victim of the way we deal with our centre-backs in build-up sometimes, which sometimes doesn't help. but I think in general we came on, did okay. Obviously, you know, coming on for Romero, and then we conceded straight away, wasn't great. But I don't think it was totally his fault. Albeit, could he have gotten close to Sancho? Maybe he was also one of the players there running at him. But I don't have too many complaints about Radu.
The last player we're going to rate is Timo Werner, who came on, I think, on the 55th minute mark for Brennan Johnson. Falls all round, and I thought it was really poor. Failed to make an impact. Albeit, though, it was his brilliant ball that actually got Sonny that big chance. It was actually a really high-quality, over-the-top through ball for Sonny. But apart from that, I felt like he was left wanting the majority of times he got the ball, and pretty poor performance.
Yeah, I think up until stoppage time, he stunk the place out a bit, to be honest. Every time we got the ball out, although he probably saw a bit more of the ball than Brennan, but every time he got there, he just didn't look like creating anything. But then in stoppage time, to be fair to him, he did make a through ball to Son, who could have scored. And then that little ball, that cross right at the end of the game, which nearly got us an equaliser. I mean, I haven't seen it back again. I don't know how close it was, but it looked like a good ball at the time. So maybe it falls a bit harsh, but I was just a bit angry with his performance before stoppage time. And I guess we should probably mention the subs, because they did have a bit of an impact, the other two subs.
Yeah, so
Maddison,
Archie Gray, Maddison and Bergvall all came on with 10 minutes to go. I thought Bergvall did pretty well. He showed really neat and tidy stuff on the ball with his switches of play.
A bit of composure where no one else showed it.
Yeah, 100%. So we definitely needed that at times. Maddison came on, tried to press the issue as well.
Got an assist.
Really
good assist.
Really good assist, yeah.
And also,
from that short corner.
Yeah, really good assist. I just thought in general looked quite bright. He wiggled his way into the edge of the box and had that shot on his left foot, which went over the bar, unfortunately. But was trying to get us back in the game. Archie Gray obviously coming on as centre back. Didn't have too much after they got their fourth goal, but it wasn't really his fault. And then after that, Chelsea were just kind of sitting back a bit.
They stepped off after that.
I think, but especially Bergvall, I think the last two games he's had 10 minutes, and I think he's showed he can play at this level. Obviously it's only 10 minutes, but I want to see more of him. He's looked nice. He's both times, we've been a bit of a mess when he's come on, and he's calmed things down a bit. Like for himself anyway, he's shown a bit of composure where other players have just been panicking and giving the ball away easily and all that stuff, and Bergvall's been a bit calmer, just playing some nice passes out wide. And for an 18-year-old to show that kind of composure in those circumstances isn't easy.
Yeah, I agree, and he'll probably start on Thursday night, and let's see how he gets on. I hope he has a good performance.
Might have to start again because he came on in the 6th, interestingly enough, so maybe he'll be the one who starts against Southampton.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because it's one of him or Gray has to start in the 6th. It depends as well what the centre-back issue is, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm very happy with the 2 cameos that Bergvall's had in the last 2 games as well, albeit lost both games, but not his fault. Let's move on and finish off with Ange Postecoglou. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought the lineup that we picked, that he started with, was probably the lineup that everyone wanted to see, with Romero and Van de Ven. Gave the place a bit of a buzz before kickoff. Everyone, I think, came into this game dreading it. And then Van de Ven and Romero, you see them in the lineup, and the place, White Hart Lane, had a bit of a buzz around it. It really did. And, and we started the game off how we started the game off, at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we were tearing the shreds, got the 2 early goals. But once you get those 2 early goals, you cannot lose the game. You can't lose the game. And I felt like game management was pretty poor from Ange. I felt like you saw Chelsea starting to take control at the game in the last stage of the first half, and then that carried on, if not more so, in the beginning stage of the second half. And you need to make changes tactically, or you need to make changes in personnel that will really stem the tide and grab the game and give us that control back. And I just felt like he failed to do that, and ultimately was very reactive in the changes that he did make, and waited till we were losing to make the changes.
Yeah, I felt for him again, because I think I agree with what he's saying, and when he says whenever things seem to be going in our favour, something does seem to hit us every time, and we have another setback. And again, it happened in this game. Obviously 2-0 up, things are going great, and then Romero goes off, and all of a sudden it's another disruption. And I feel for him on that point of view, but I think clearly Palmer was getting too much joy, and he didn't adjust things to stem that. I think that was a big mistake. Palmer was clearly getting all sorts of space in kind of the central areas. He should have dropped Sarr a bit deeper. Again, he's forced into another 2 changes. In Johnson, obviously Van de Ven was only planned to play 75 minutes, but Johnson he's forced into another change, and he I think could he have brought on Maddison instead of Timo, and maybe we could have held on to the ball better if we did that potentially, rather than bring on Timo. And again, we struggled to get up the pitch. That was a bit of a mistake, I think. Could he have brought Bergvall on and Maddison on earlier, because they did seem to have a decent impact when they did come on? Maybe. But again, I feel like if the Bentancur was available, he definitely would have come on, but he's not. So I do feel for him when it comes to lack of squad options. But I think he could have influenced the game a bit more than he did, and he made the change at 3-2, didn't he? Then when they went on to score the 4th goal, but could he have made it at 2-2? That was a good period there. But again, as I say, at 2-2, we had a bit of a second wind, and they actually scored in our best period in the second half. So I feel for him again in that point, but it's not like exactly we were amazing, but that was a point where it looked like maybe we could stem the flow of the game a bit more into our favour. But
it wasn't long. Like, it was like 5 minutes, maybe a bit more at best, and you saw Chelsea gaining control at the back end of the first half, and you saw them carry on that control in the beginning stages of the second half. Like, it was clear that something needed to happen.
Yeah, and again, I feel for him though, because those 2 penalties I don't really put down to him, to be honest. As much as the pressure, maybe you could argue the pressure we're under, those penalties were inevitable, but I just think those 2 were just a rush of blood to the head, and I don't put those penalties on Ange, but obviously the way Chelsea took control of the game and we couldn't stem that, Ange has to take responsibility for that.
Absolutely. So that is our player ratings for the 4-3 loss